Total Retail Talks listeners are invited to the 2026 Women in Retail Leadership Summit, held April 27th through the 29th at the JW Marriott Miami Turnberry Resort. Connect with senior retail leaders and gain new perspectives shaping the future of the industry. Register today at womeninretailsummit.com and save $100 with code PODCAST.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, the editor-in-chief of Total Retail. I'm excited to be joined on today's episode by Nick Lezin, who is the Senior Vice President of E-commerce and Marketing at Ashley. We're going to talk to Nick a little bit about Ashley and its work in the AI-powered shopping experience. It has recently announced a fully transactional experience through Perplexity. It's actually partnering with PayPal for this as well. So some exciting things to come in terms of AI integration at Ashley. So Nick, thanks for taking the time to join me on today's show.
Joe, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, as I mentioned at the outset, Ashley is launching a fully transactional shopping experience through the AI platform Perplexity. So, tell me a little bit about the thought process behind this. Why was now the right time for Ashley to move into kind of this AI-powered commerce arena?
Yeah, so we've been actively seeking out opportunities to test and learn in this space. We see the promise of AI to make shopping easier for our customers, and we think being an early adopter or a first mover provides Ashley a seat at the table in shaping how this experience is going to be delivered, ensuring that it really adds value to our customers. And so it's really that sort of first mover advantage. It's rare to have an opportunity to be first in the space in e-com in general or in a new form of commerce. And so that's the piece that we are really excited about and wanted to capitalize on.
I am going under the assumption that most of the audience knows about Ashley, but for those that may not, could you maybe just give a quick overview of the business, Nick?
Yeah, sure. So we have over 700 retail locations in the United States. And so huge coverage nationally, largest furniture retailer in the United States. We also have an e-com direct-to-consumer platform, which is ashleyfurniture.com. And that's been growing very rapidly. And so we are, as part of some of these opportunities, we're really looking for growth opportunities that not only grow our e-com business, but also are improving awareness, consideration, anything that could help our overall sort of omni business, which has been very healthy, but of course, always looking for ways that we can add and deliver more value to our customers.
You've kind of addressed a little bit about the why behind AI-powered commerce. I want to talk about some of the factors that led to that why, particularly what behaviors you were seeing from potentially your customers at Ashley, maybe some of the customers as you look at the market in your category, furniture, and just in general, consumer behavior. What were some of those behaviors that you were seeing that pushed you towards really investing in AI-powered shopping?
So we're listening to our customers. In this particular case, our customers are not telling us directly, hey, we want you to offer the ability for us to shop in generative tools, Perplexity in particular, or others. So that wasn't a direct signal. This isn't survey-based data, et cetera. But we're absolutely seeing indicators in their behavior that would suggest that there's interest and relevance here. As an example, we've been watching referral traffic to our website from these sources pretty closely. And if you track that, it's really like an exponential curve from the start of this year. And we just don't see that slowing down anytime soon. The absolute volume of that traffic is still relatively small, but we see critical mass here. And so it's enough for us to make some investments to explore, to provide the subset of current customers that are taking these shopping journeys easy and new ways to shop our brand.
Yeah, it's becoming in large part a discovery channel, right, Nick? It's becoming sometimes like that like Google is and still, but it's becoming also that first interaction, right? So they might be explaining it to an AI agent and Perplexity, in this case, a piece of furniture they're interested in, and that is kind of leading them down the path. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, and I'd say whether or not the consumer prefers to shop within these channels, I would say the verdict is probably still out a little bit. This is a new frontier, but we feel it's low risk and high reward to offer and to provide that potential. And so that we can learn with our customers, with partners like Perplexity, is this a growing preference for our consumers, and making sure that we have those insights that we can improve that experience over time. And so that's part of that sort of fast mover advantage of jumping in here. But I'd say until there's a significant portion of transactions that are really coming through these channels, I'd say the verdict's probably out a little bit. So we're watching and trying to be cautious, but also making sure that we're exploring.
Yeah, and to your point too, you don't wanna overdo it, but you also don't wanna be standing still, right? That first mover advantage you talked about. How about as you think about your traditional e-commerce model, does the enablement of direct purchasing within Perplexity change the way you're thinking about discovery, the consideration phase, and then ultimately conversion compared to how you're journeying your customers on your own .com site?
Sure. So summary answer would be yes. At this point, I'd say we're hopeful that direct commerce in the channel will be complementary to the overall Ashley shopping experience. We don't have any indications to suggest that it won't be. Whether shopping is happening within Perplexity, on our website, or within other channels, I think the potential for AI enabled commerce is massive. For discovery, that means more accurate and relevant product recommendations. For consideration, it's driving a renewed urgency across our organization really to improve our customer service. And that's really a key point is this isn't a crutch for us doing table stakes for the sort of core value to our guests. Like we need to be stepping up our game everywhere. And customer service in particular has been an area where we think some of these AI experiences actually amplify everything that we're doing, good and bad. And so we need to be really tight there. When it comes to conversion, we see these platforms disrupting the design services space, for example, generative images, inspirational videos. And when you combine that with product recommendations and like really high relevance there, and then you put that streamlined one click checkout into the stack, we just think that's a super powerful combination. And so, whether it's on or within Perplexity or within our own website, our plan is to really lean into sort of that stack of experiences. And we think that's allowing us to offer something more similar to what a guest would receive interacting with one of our sales associates in one of our store locations and offering that richness of experience further up in the shopping journey, which is great for sort of our omni business.
One of the interesting things is more and more consumers turn to AI platforms with shopping in mind, is that the experience really can be self-contained within that one conversation on an AI platform. So they're going all the way from discovery to comparison to ultimately checking out within that platform. And that is interesting, particularly in a category like Ashley operates in a little bit more of a high consideration category, such as furniture. How do you think about that kind of long held assumption about high consideration categories like furniture being sold online and collapsing that journey from what might have been multiple touch points across different channels, all of this happening in one stream conversation with an AI agent? How does that change what your assumptions?
Sure. Yeah, it's exciting. So, again, I think the promise is to more quickly build shopper confidence in their purchase decision. And all those sort of tools and experience we were just talking about, they certainly have the capability of doing that. These opportunities, these features, these capabilities, they've existed, many of them have existed disparately. And so, as you mentioned, pulling them all into something that's more cohesive, I think that's the opportunity really is faster confidence in the purchase decision. So see in home, social proof, design inspiration and curation, dynamic offers and pricing, one click checkout. These aren't new concepts, but it's the combination of them that I think is truly powerful. And I imagine it might be a little bit bumpy to start out here, but do I think that's going to get really, really dialed in and is going to be an amazing sort of experience for Ashley shoppers? Absolutely. It's something that we're very excited about. I think all of the elements that described there, it's great for a direct purchase through either ashleyfurniture.com or within the Perplexity environment. But we still do a ton of business within our retail stores. And I think all of that adds value to that omni experience as well. Ton of pre-shopping already happening. I would imagine like with these new experiences rolling out, we're going to have the most qualified guests coming into our stores, highly motivated and very clear on what they're looking for. and still have the opportunity to try before they buy, to experience our products in real life before they make their purchase, but a huge sort of empowerment for the customer prior to even visiting one of our stores, and that's exciting as well.
One of the things that you said there, Nick, is it's speeding up that confidence in the purchasing decision. It's also making it potentially, it's giving them another channel. So it could potentially add convenience as well. And that purchasing decision, a lot of times is built around trust. I want to talk to you about payments, particularly, and particularly directly within Perplexity. I know Ashley is working with PayPal there to enable that. So tell us a little bit about, in your view, how important trust is, both in that product recommendation from AI, right? You want to make sure you're serving up the right product based on the prompts that the user is giving the platform, and also the payment experience when they're orchestrating a full transaction outside of one of Ashley's own channels.
Yeah. So on the transaction side, it's crucial. And the combination of PayPal's, reputation, the scale of their loyal user base, and really the strength of the relationship that we have directly with PayPal, we think they're a perfect partner for this experience. They have the clout to provide that trust from a transaction perspective to our customers. When it comes to product recommendations, it's a huge factor that those recommendations are accurate and they have all the elements that are going to provide that trust to drive conversion at the end of the day. We're really excited to work with partners like Perplexity. We think that the optimization of that, the enrichment of those recommendations is only going to get better over time. And so we're really seeking to understand how can we do our part to improve that trust, whether that's ratings and reviews or it's more inspiration, all of those different factors. But yeah, as I mentioned, it's a bit of a new frontier. And so we're learning with these partners and overall excited for the opportunity.
We've talked a lot about the experience for the consumer, right? And we haven't really addressed what this means for the internal operations at Ashley. As you invest in kind of these next generation commerce experiences, there's obviously a number of things happening behind the scenes, whether it's with your team across the organization. Tell me a little bit about how you collaborate and work internally to arrive at offering these next generation commerce experiences that we've been talking about.
Yeah, Ashley, from a corporate entity perspective, has been investing a ton in associate enablement tools and access to make sure that every team member within the business has the ability to leverage AI capability within their given area of the business and to do so in a safe way that's sort of within our protected environment. I'd say one of the largest investments that we've made over the past year or so has really been in pulling in and deepening our bench of AI talent. And so I'd say 2025 was probably the year of really stepping up the talent that we have within the organization. For 2026, that's going to pivot a little bit. And so those sort of incremental investments are really going to start flowing into a couple areas. So, one, we're going to be replatforming ashleyfurniture.com and the related tech stack. And one of the main reasons there is just to make sure that we are as agentic friendly as possible, that like we have the opportunity to have the strongest signal into some of these AI tools like Perplexity, et cetera, but also that we're able to deliver similar rich experiences within our website. You may have heard recently, but we formed a partnership with Stripe, and they're going to power both the checkout on ashleyfurniture.com in 2026, but then they're also going to serve as our key bridge between Ashley and some of these AI tools over time. And those are some just more tactical examples of what we're doing from an investment perspective over the coming year.
How do you think about, as a follow-up to that, your product data in particular as well? Because obviously, a lot of times it's been optimized for Google, other search engines. Now there's this whole other realm of these AI platforms that you're trying to generate traffic from. Does that impact how you think about the content and copy, including product data on your site?
It does. I would say this is an area where introspectively we feel we have a ton of opportunity for improvement. I think, one of the factors that has probably been a bit of a lower focus or consideration, but I think is going to be really important moving forward is just how dynamic that content is for inline product and like how often that's getting refreshed, whether it's product imagery or descriptions or social mentions, the like. I'd say we've probably been overly static to date. And this is an area where we see a huge opportunity to be much more dynamic and keep content fresh for products that may stay online for 3 to 5 years, and maybe historically we're a bit more static. How do we keep that fresh and sort of rejuvenated over time? And so that's a pretty considerable effort when you talk about a product catalog that's thousands and thousands of items deep, but it will be an exciting opportunity for us to solve for. And we think that's going to be really key moving forward when it comes to shopping, particularly within some of these AI tools like Perplexity.
Yeah. And then it's a nice segue into my final question for you, Nick. And as you think about it, you've kind of talked about where we're headed a little bit. And obviously, Ashley wants to be a player in that space, in the generative space, the AI shopping experience. Tell us a little bit about what you believe brands will need to show up going forward to remain relevant. What are the key focus areas? We've talked a little bit about Ashley. This can extend beyond Ashley in terms of the larger conversation of retail, but I'd love to get your perspective as a leader in the retail marketing and e-commerce arena.
I think our actions, they kind of signal that we're believers, that we think that there's a huge rapid transformation that's happening right now, and that we don't want that to happen to us. We want to be a participant in shaping that. So that's our point of view. I would say as a recommendation or what we think, other brands need to do to really show up and be relevant. I'd say within our company, this has led a major fire, like to look in the mirror, have honest conversations around wherever we can raise the bar on our overall guest experience. That could be infrastructure, data, talent gaps, but overall, just like massive action for continuous improvement in just the guest experience in general. And, that flows through to everything, whether that's ratings and reviews or NPS and recommendations. But we need obviously the capabilities, like the technical capabilities in order to enrich and deliver a better guest experience. But we also need to make sure that we're just prioritizing that and like really driving that forward. And we think AI or without AI, that is just table stakes for good retail. And so those are big focal points. And I'd say there's just a lot of excitement around that within the organization of leaning in there and improving it. And also an acknowledgement that there's just many areas that we aren't as good as we want to be or that we know that we can be. I think that the evolutions in commerce that we're talking about, they're huge opportunities to deliver richer, more relevant shopping experiences for our guests. So we see like the promise there, but the caveat is like they're not a crutch for excellence and customer experience fundamentals. Like you need to do the basics extremely well. And I'd say that's a very sort of honest conversation that we're having internally of we're not looking at this as some type of, silver bullet to make the hard stuff easy. We actually think that it puts a little bit of sort of an amplifier on some of the challenges that we have. And so we need to make sure that we're addressing those and making them better.
Yeah, and it's complementary, right? It's not replacing, and it's credit to Ashley is that you've kind of done that self audit and said there's opportunity here, and there's room for growth, there's room for learning. Is not just isn't just limited to Ashley, is across the retail industry as generative platforms, as Perplexity, and become a larger part of consumer shopping journeys. There's a real opportunity there, and you're finding out how best you can tap into that opportunity at Ashley.
Yeah. And I think this podcast is probably a good example of we're making a public statement of our commitment back to our customers. And I'd say it's on us now to follow through on that. But I think that's one of the reasons why we're here today is to sort of share that we know we can improve the guest experience. We will improve it. And we're making a verbal commitment to do so.
Well, as we record this at the very end of 2025, some exciting things to look forward to from Ashley coming in 2026. I do want to thank Nick Lezin, who is the Senior Vice President of E-commerce and Marketing at Ashley, for joining us on this episode of Total Retail Talks. Thank you, Nick. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.
from our sister brand, Women in Retail Leadership Circle. Join the 2026 Women in Retail Leadership Summit, April 27th through the 29th in Miami, Florida. Save $100 with code PODCAST.